Well, good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to Late Night Video. And on this week's episode, we'll be talking about Alleycat Rock, Delinquent Girl Boss, aka Alleycat Rock, female boss from 1970. What's the actual title? I have no idea. I've seen both interchanged like crazy. From what I understand, it was Alleycat Rock in Japan, at least that's how it started, but in the West, Alleycat Rock, it's really confusing. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to go with Alleycat Rock, because that's what it's called in its availability here in the West. Now, Alleycat Rock is a prime example of the Japanese exploitation film, and an excellent example of the Japanese exploitation film. When most folks think of Japan in the 1970s, they think of daikaiju or tokusatsu or henshin type stuff. Generally don't think of this sort of film, but there's a lot of great stuff to be found in Japan that just doesn't get talked about for some reason. And this film is a perfect example of that. And Alleycat Rock is essentially a girl gang movie. It's very akin to something like Switchblade Sisters. So if you dug Switchblade Sisters, this will be right up your alley because it definitely has that feel to it. And though it came out in 1970, it still is very much a 1960s exploitation film. It's really got that us against the establishment, the tortured youth versus the man kind of feeling to it. And seeing that in another country and kind of their view of it, it's really interesting in and of itself. They did a perfect job of capturing that vibe, that feeling of that time period and that Switchblade Sisters kind of movie. Alleycat Rock tells the story of a group of rough and tumble, they're very tough girls in a girl gang who run afoul of a local gang made up of all guys. The movie actually kind of begins with the two gangs fighting. Turns out that this guy gang is having their strings pulled by a corrupt local government agency. And so the girl gang ends up running afoul of this government agency and has to go up against them. And though they're a gang, kind of an anti-hero kind of thing, because you definitely side with the girls as they go up against this corrupt local government agency. And that's kind of a very common setup for this type of movie in this exploitation film style. But as with many others like Switchblade Sisters and things alike, it's the execution, it's the characters, it's the girls that really drive it forward. And this is a good one. Characters. There's basically two main characters of the movie. There's a bunch of characters, but I'm just going to focus on the two main girl gang members, and that's Akko and Mei. And Akko is played by Kiko Wada, who's kind of the tough motorcycle riding girl that comes into the gang very in the beginning of the movies, when her meeting them right at the beginning. And then Mei, who's kind of the leader of the gang, even though Akko kind of comes in and kind of becomes the leader. There's not really any tension within the group. They're a pretty tight-knit group. And Mei is played by Meiko Kaji. And Meiko Kaji is most famous probably for Lady Snowblood, another fantastic movie that may or may not have a review coming up on this very silly stupid channel. As I was saying on Akko and her motorcycle, often when you hear about the Alleycat Rock movies, like when I was doing research for them, they're often referred to as Japanese biker movies. I would definitely not call this one a biker movie. Yeah, Akko drives a motorcycle, but it's not really, there's no kind of Easy Rider or Werewolves on Wheels kind of feel to this one. It's, as I said, more girl gang kind of thing. Music. One of the strongest features of this movie is the music. It has got this wonderful, excellent 1960s rock and 1960s psychedelic rock kind of soundtrack to it. And the chapters are kind of often broken up by scenes to this club that the gang hangs out at, and there's bands performing in each of these scenes, and they're different bands, and I believe they're real bands because in the opening credits it actually lists the musicians playing as if they're real recording artists that you should know, and they are really good. Very Tarantino in a way. I almost guarantee you Tarantino has seen this movie because it really kind of has that feel. Of course, long before there was a Tarantino. And also with the music comes in kind of I wouldn't call this a psychedelic film, by any means, but there's a lot of lighting in it, especially in the club scenes that kind of have that feel. It's a very excellent looking movie as well, especially those club scenes. Very cool. Sleaze. No real sleaze to mention. There's a little bit of bad sleaze, kind of some bad stuff happens to one of the members of the girl gang, but other than that, nothing really to report. Trivia. The character of Akko, played by Akiko, was actually kind of meant to be the standout character of the film. Akiko was a singer and a musician in real life. I don't know how famous she was, but they felt that she would be kind of the lead character, and so that's why they kind of pushed her as the lead. But when the movie came out, audiences, they didn't really respond to her as much as the character of Mei, played by Meiko Kaji. And she ended up being the focal point of the series moving forward. Meiko ends up being the face of the series from there on out. Wacky. Is it wacky? It's a little bit wacky. Nothing super duper wacky or anything like that. But the characters themselves, the girls, are very unique looking in their different styles. And then of course there's Mei, who wears a Native American outfit through the whole movie. No real reason why. And then some of the gang members wear the very 1960s clothing. I mean, you think stereotypical 1960s go-go girl, that's some of them. And then some of the boy group members are what you would expect from, I said boy group, boy gang members. That'd be a whole different movie. Much shorter movie if the girl gang was just beating up on boy band members. I'd watch that though. Availability. This one is readily available. It's on Amazon Prime right now, as well as a nice Blu-ray set that has the entire series in it. Rating. I give this one 3 girl gangs out of 5. It's a good time, and as I said, if you like Switchblade Sisters, I think you'll dig this one. And that's all the time we have for this week. Please like, subscribe, do a little dance, make a little love, and keep it wacky.